we've been talking about like sexual orientation as like being protected through these lawsuits. And I know that people feel very passionately about sports and these sports teams and these coaches, and there's all this money in this industry. How much longer do you think it'll be with all of the lawsuits that you've mentioned before we start seeing sexual orientation as a protected class federally?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Anybody know? Aaron, do you know? You got the answer to that one? How long will it be?
Can I help?
Yeah, please.
Well, no, I can't make a prediction, but I can just give you some recent history that might help. So, you know, the first time ENDA passed any House of Congress was after kicking around for 10 years, and it was the November before Hobby Lobby came out. And immediately after Hobby Lobby, lots of gay rights groups in particular and other civil liberties groups pulled their support for ENDA. They literally pulled their support for ENDA. And I think that was the signal that this was going to get to be much harder in terms of compromise. We have since seen and introduced the Equality Act. The Equality Act has very little, well, first of all, it loads in all kinds of groups that are protected, right, not just sexual orientation. And every time you load up another group, there's a set of constituents that are against it. So it actually sort of undercuts a base of support, I think. Doesn't have a lot of protections for religious groups, so there's going to be a whole set of people that are going to stall right off the front. And on the other side of that, you have the First Amendment Defense Act, which is all about religious groups, doesn't think at all about the LGBT community, right? One of my issues with that, although it since has been revised based on advice from people who are more calm and measured. And I haven't looked at the revision. I'm going to maybe touch briefly on the first version of it, which was just too broad, right? Now there are really reasonable people like David Blankenhorn and others in Time magazine only a couple months ago that said you should take FADA and the Equality Act and bridge them, right? Try to find a way for folks to live together. I think you could get movement if you can do that. And there are lots and lots of people at the national level that are having that conversation now, and not the usual suspects, but people that you would never imagine wanting to think about LGBT rights being balanced with religious liberty. So that's positive. Houston is a really bad signal, though. I mean, what happened in Houston is awful. And so I don't know. I mean, do you know any more than that? Okay.
That was a great answer. Just pretend it came out of my mouth.
I think we have time for one more question.
So, like many things in Minnesota, there seems to be this really like stark divide of all of these like, you know, the coaches in Duluth, like the super transphobic ads that came out in the Star Tribune last year, like mirrored by this like very inclusive in athletics, like Minnesota FC has like a Pride Day where like they really celebrate that. The Lynx, like both of which are very, very successful like athletic teams, and you know, combined with the Minnesota like popular vote to get gay marriage and the same-sex marriage in the Constitution. Like, have you come across other states or areas where there's such like this stark dichotomy between like things going on like specifically within athletics in regards to LGBT athletes, and if so, how did you deal with it, and if not, like what do you have to say about that?
Well, you know, that's really a great comment and question that you just asked. What I find happens, yes, it can happen many times. It happens in California. It can happen anywhere. And what I find is when this kind of thing happens in an athletic department, many times it has to do with the athletic director and how they run the department. It can be just one person that makes all this happen, you know, that makes this ripple effect happen. So, you know, one way to deal with that is to, you know, look at that one person and get them out of there if you possibly can. And what you see is usually the president of a college will support whatever that athletic director says, even if it's, you know, things like let's fire all the women coaches and see what happens. The president will say, "Oh, that's, you know, if you want to do that, that's a great idea," which, you know, is what's happening at Duluth. The other thing is that many times when this happens at a school, it so affects all the other teams. Because all the other teams and coaches may be fantastic. And so then the press is just saying, okay, this school is this school is this. But it may not be your team that you're playing on at that same school. And so, we always try to think about that and see what's going on there. But yeah, it does happen in different states like that. And even like, University of Minnesota, at this very moment, they have great athletic teams. They do great work around pride and different areas like that. So even though there was a lawsuit with Katie, that was a good thing because it just called out some coaches that weren't good for University of Minnesota. Same thing at Penn State. Penn State's got such a great athletic department now. I would send my twin girls there in a minute. And it was because they had to clean up their act from Rennie Portland and also from the Jerry Sandusky scandal.
I hope you can join me in thanking Helen Carroll for.
Thanks, everybody. That was really fun. I love talking to you.